I'm Kat.
I'm Haley.
And this is Night Classy, the podcast where tipsy teachers teach fascinating lessons. I don't know why I started doing a voice there, but what are we drinking?
We're drinking Oktoberfest.
Woo!
It's October, bitches.
It's October almost.
Almost, right. We still can drink Oktoberfest on today when it comes out because it's still September and Oktoberfest is in September.
Yes. So this is our Oktoberfest episode. We're not wearing our dirndls this year, though.
Yeah, it's still daylight out, and we recorded an episode before this episode for Patreon.
Woo-woo.
So we're just in our normal layman clothes.
Yeah.
Being lame.
I just couldn't fathom putting on that dirndl and a bra, because you need a bra to wear a dirndl, and I am free boobing it hard.
Do you want to hear something really gross?
Yeah.
In my hall closet, I went to get out like my broom that I have in there, and I thought that something like flour or something like powdery got spilled on my winter coats and like the stuff that I have in there. No, something did not get spilled.
What?
It was fucking like mildew. Or mildew or mold. So I had to clean the entire thing out, sanitize everything. I had to throw away my bridesmaid's dress that from my best friend Alex's wedding. Sorry, Alex, if you're listening. It was covering.
There's
I
no
had
mold.
to throw away.
She just wanted to throw it away.
Something got on it during the wedding too. Like it was like oil stained and stuff. I was like, Jesus. Well, the $200 dress that was worn one night. That's your typical.
They should just make all bridesmaid dresses disposable, because you never wear them again.
You never do.
They're never that cute. They're just plain.
You could get them shortened. My dress was cute, but it wasn't something like I would only wear it in a wedding.
Yeah, like their bridesmaids dresses have a very specific look. Like you wouldn't wear a bridesmaid dress to a wedding as a guest because it looks like a bridesmaid dress. It's like a plain gown.
Yeah.
And where else would you like wear a gown?
Yeah, and the odds of your friend also having you in their wedding and picking the exact same color, like if you got mildew on your bridesmaid's dress, sometimes you just have to throw that shit away.
Throw it away, but I'm going to start a company that makes biodegradable bridesmaid dresses, because I feel it's a waste.
So specific.
I feel it's a waste to just wear them once. Same with prom. I'm never going to wear my prom dress again. I still have it.
I do too. I have the one that was expensive. The rest of them were like secondhand or very cheap.
Yeah. Most of mine weren't that expensive, but the prom dress cost me like $200, but it was like a $1,500 dress that I got like off a designer rack, like way discounted.
Nice.
So it was nice. It's a really nice dress. It's heavy as fuck.
And if you ever have kids, then maybe they'll want to try it on and wear it.
Oh, definitely.
That's why I'm holding out for.
Same. I love putting on my mom's old dance dresses.
Me too.
They're beautiful.
Me too. So thankfully, none of her old dresses were in there because I had to throw away a bunch of shit. And I was like, well, I'll just throw the dirndl in. I saved one of my winter coats, 2 other dresses that didn't look bad, and the fucking dirndl. And
how did mold get in your closet?
I researched it, and it said that if there's any moisture at all, and it's hot upstairs.
Yeah, that's true.
If there's any moisture, it rises and it's hot and it's dark, then boom, there it is. Mold. Yeah.
Mold.
So I threw a bunch of stuff away, sprayed a lot of Lysol. And
what an adventure.
Yeah. And we didn't even wear our dirndls, which is fine.
I know. Maybe we'll wear them another time.
Yeah, next year.
Next year. Yeah, it's not comfortable. I don't like wearing it.
Just every year we're doing less and less. Like,
I know. Are we giving up?
Tend to do the most.
Yeah.
But I think we're just getting older. We're seeing what's important and what isn't.
I think we spent a year in quarantine and we still don't really go out because it still feels like weird and wrong. And it is like, you shouldn't be going out when you don't have to. So I think my bar has just gone so low for doing things. Like I just don't do, I don't think about it.
The bar is low now. And last year it was like so low that when we did things, we wanted to go big.
That's true.
Wear dirndls and have the, what's it called? The big
the Steins. We did drink out of Steins.
Yeah, we went big last year.
We did. Well, it is about to be October tomorrow, and we plan on doing October-y lessons all throughout October because we fucking love spooky season because we're basic bitches just like everyone else, but we love it. And so like I also have like a bunch of Halloween costumes that I've got from Goodwill, and I plan on wearing them.
Oh, I'm fully ready. I was trying on my Maleficent like head thing
I saw
yesterday.
that. Did you just buy that? When did you get that?
I got that in April, maybe March.
So cool.
Yes, I'm very excited. I need to get a little like black cape or something to wear with it, but
yeah,
I don't know how well it'll work with these headphones.
Oh, I have a black cape from my vampire costume.
Yes, you do. All right. We're set. Yeah, we're ready for October. So this is just the one kicking it off for tomorrow. Yes. But we're getting in with Oktoberfest on this last day of September, the month that has gone way too quickly.
So fast.
I know.
So fast. Weird. But that's good because I'm ready for it to be October.
Me too. October 1st, we have a special Patreon event going on.
We do. We are having our Patreon cocktail hour. It's going to be at 8 p.m. on Friday, which is tomorrow. So if you're a Patreon, please make sure to come. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to tell our personal ghost stories. We want to hear yours.
Mm-hmm. So and that's 8 p.m. Central.
Yes, 8 p.m. Central.
So don't miss it, you Eastern bitches. Don't miss it. Mountain time
you
bitches.
know what we should do?
What?
I think we mentioned this on our on another episode, but Bonfire Babble, their podcast, they sent us that recipe book of which cocktails. We should pick a few and then put a poll on Patreon. We'll all vote on which cocktail we want to make.
And we can all make it. Yes.
Yeah,
okay,
let's do that. We'll work on that. It should be there by now.
It'll be there. Just go vote. Also, we have a Lush store pop-up coming to Memphis. So if we're late to our own event, it's because we're still checking out with all of our shit at Lush.
Is that happening at Friday?
Yeah.
Payday,
baby.
And
that's right.
Lush.
Let's just fucking meet there after work.
Okay.
Stock up.
It's at
Take
Wolf
a shower.
Chase.
Yeah.
All right, come meet us at Wolf Chase at Lush on. Oh, this will already have come out. No, it won't. It'll be on Friday.
It'll be the day before. Yeah.
So come shopping with us, bitches.
So
We're
many exciting things. I'm so fucking ready. We can shower with all of our Lush stuff before the Ghost Stories event.
Oh my God, yes.
So if this all sounds awesome to you and you're not a Patreon yet, just head on over to Patreon. We just recorded an episode with Nolan Ellis. He is a comic here in Memphis, and he's a dungeon master of Dungeons and Dragons. We played it for the first time. We laughed. We cried.
We were huge pains in the asses.
We were. And if you've ever played it or have interest in hearing us play a game of Dungeons and Dragons, that episode will be coming out if it's not already.
It will already be out when this comes out because that needs to come out. And an episode we haven't recorded yet, as we are recording now, a Patreon episode with Alec should be out by the time this episode comes out because we neglected. Alec and I had COVID, so like that set us behind on some things last month. So we didn't release a Patreon episode last month. We're releasing 2 this month, so those will both be out. So find those. I don't know what topic Alec is going to teach us. I'm sure it'll be great.
Back to school is cray. So
yeah,
we're over that now. What we're saying is that we're putting out a lot of content on Patreon, and we're hosting these kind of like office hours type things, if you want to call them that, on Patreon. So head on over there, join, and we'll see you definitely on October 1st at 8 p.m.
Yes, definitely go there. And speaking of Patreon, I have a patron to shout out. It is It is Becca from Charlotte, North Carolina. She's awesome. She is also a young educator and a wine drinker.
Wow. Thank you. So you understand everything we're talking about. We're just 3 peas in a fucking pod.
That's right. And she is a white wine bitch, though, according to her. So that's a bit of an issue for me, but I'll take it.
Joining
if
Patreon
she's giving us money
is a redemption.
Yeah.
It's a redemption.
She's sort of doing what she can. May I recommend a Pinot Noir, Becca? But it's fine.
Becca, I salute you. I wish I could drink white wine. I wish I could drink all wines. White wines just give me such a freaking hangover the next day. It's not a good situation.
I like a good Pinot Grigio served really cold occasionally.
Oh yeah, if I can't taste it, great.
Yeah, but
Just make it so cold.
right. But like red wine just has a little bit more oomph.
Yeah.
And I like drinking it, and I'll call it room temperature. It's soothing.
It's easy.
Yeah, it's too easy. But yeah,
It's way easier to do than to not do, which is 100% different from most things.
definitely. And I have like a bunch of random shout outs on here. Not random, but so thank you, Becca. We also recorded an episode. We've just been recording. You guys, you don't understand how much we do for you. We spend our entire weekend, every single weekend, recording and researching. So today we recorded Patreon. We're recording our episode today. This is a Sunday. I spent all day researching yesterday. So did Haley. And then on Friday, we recorded with Twisted Teachers podcast.
Yes, we did. Oh my gosh, that was so freaking fun. It was really cool because they're seasoned teachers. And basically what I got is that not much changes. The kids don't always get better. There's just something always crazy. And that's what I love talking about with other teachers, is just the craziness. There's always a story to tell when you're a teacher.
Yeah, it was so cool to meet them. And we found out that Jen is a Virgo and Kim is a Capricorn, just like Haley's a Virgo and I'm a Capricorn. And they have a very similar dynamic to us. I feel like we can definitely tell who's who and in the zodiac realm.
I agree completely. You all would enjoy, if you enjoyed Night Classy, head on over and check out Twisted Teachers. It was a blast.
And you can hear us. I don't know exactly when their episode's coming out. It probably will be out when this comes out. So go over there, listen to us, chat with them. We had a lot of fun.
We sure did.
And one more shout out.
So many shout outs, man. I'm over here just like smiling and waving, boys.
I like had to go like throughout the week. I kept getting like all these things I needed to add in here. So I just kept like putting things in, making sure I didn't forget. But this is an exciting one. You already know this story, but Cameron, Alex's sister, was at a wedding recently and she met a couple listeners of Night Classy at the wedding. They found out randomly, and that is Andy and Emily. So shout out to them. And they have their own podcast. It's called Grizzly Grapes, and it's a true crime podcast. So give them a listen.
Wow, wow, wow.
Bow, bow. Why do we keep doing that today?
I don't know, because my brain is like having trouble focusing. I don't know why.
You need to go take some Adderall.
Andy and who?
Andy and Emily. They're twins.
And Emily.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. We appreciate you so much, even if I can't remember someone's name immediately after they tell me what it is.
They were drunk at the wedding, obviously, because it's a wedding. Yeah. And they like went up to Cameron and told her they were starstruck that Alec is her brother. And that just was the ego boost I needed on a Wednesday when I was told that story. So
I
thank
love that so freaking much. We just love all you Night Classy listeners. We appreciate you. And
so much.
We do. We work hard to bring you this show.
Yeah, we work hard. I mean, it's obviously fun for us, but yeah, I'm just so impressed, honestly. Like, I'm going to pat ourselves on the back that we're on our 80th episode.
Yeah, we've
never missed a week. We spend like our weekends doing this stuff, and like it's really fun. We love it, obviously, which is why we do it. But like, I'm just proud of us for sticking with it.
I am too. We're a good team.
We are.
So
things are good.
Pay us. Go over to Patreon.
Yeah, it definitely makes us want to keep doing it when you guys like say nice things to us and
Money
donate
talks.
to Patreon. So we appreciate that.
No, I'm totally kidding. If you're not in the position to, don't worry about it. But I love how Kat is being like so nice and so subtle about it.
No, and like honestly, like donating to Patreon is amazing. But I think the best thing you can do is expose a friend to this podcast.
Yeah. That's the best way.
Yeah.
Word of mouth. It's so fun watching the podcast grow and like knowing that we create something that clicks with some people. It's not going to be great for everyone, but if you like it, then, you know, birds of a certain feather flock together. Your friends probably will too. And then you can be that cool friend who introduced them to a new podcast.
Yeah.
You're like the hipster.
We're so cool.
So cool.
So cool.
Jeez.
Do you have anything else?
No, I don't. That's all I have.
Well, I'm so sorry. I need to buy fucking batteries for the breathalyzer.
I forget too. We're just failing.
It's something that doesn't cross your mind until you're here.
Yeah, here.
So we don't have the breathalyzer, and Haley was excited about her lesson. I'm excited about mine too, but she seemed enthused about hers, so she's going to go first.
All right. Well, let's get into it then. Okay. So do you know the story of the Pied Piper?
No.
Okay.
Oh, did he take the snakes out of Ireland? Is that him?
Yeah, that's one of the, what is it called? Like versions of the story. So the original Pied Piper was in about the 1200s, and it's not a real story, but it took place in Hamelin, Germany. And this is just pulled straight from Wikipedia because this is going to set up my lesson. It's not on the Pied Piper. But the legend dates back to the Middle Ages, the earliest references describing a piper dressed in multicolor, aka pied clothing, who was a rat catcher hired by the town to lure the rats away with his magic pipe. His pipe brings all the rats to the yard.
Rats love a magic pipe.
Oh, yeah. I know plenty of people who love a magic pipe. When citizens refused to pay for his service after he got all the rats out, because, the plague, he retaliates by using his pipe to lure the children. Some say that he lured them off of a cliff, just lured them away into a cave, but basically he took all the town's children, leading them out of the town just as he had with the rats.
Oh, wow. So pay people that do things for you.
Yeah, it's a weird story. I know it's a strange concept. We're not all used to it, but that's the moral of the story. You need to pay people.
You're like, donate to Patreon. Just kidding.
Or else I'm going to bring my magic pipe up to this mic and you're going to find out. But this originated out of Hamelin, Germany, which is also where in 1725, a boy estimated to be around 11 years old was spotted in the woods. He was naked. He got around on all fours rather than walking. He was filthy, badly sunburned. His hair was matted and straggly, and his fingers were, let's just say, overgrown.
His fingers?
His fingernails.
Okay.
Girl, his fingers were long as hell.
He's like walking on all fours on his like fingertips.
Yeah, he's like walking like a dog when you put those little booties on them and they don't know how to walk
like
anymore.
Sticking their legs.
It was quite a sight to see. Oh my God. This was one of the children that the Pied Piper had led away from the village.
Really?
No, it was like 500 years later.
Why'd you tell the Pied Piper story?
Because it took place in the same town. Oh. It was just an intro.
I see.
Just for fun.
I get it.
So those who found him, it seems like he was found by hunters in the woods. When they spoke to them, he didn't really seem to comprehend the words being said to him. And he continued to just like grunt and squeak while throwing his body around wildly. And he was very agile and could easily climb trees.
Ew.
Yeah.
Hate it.
So they're
with
like,
his long fingers.
What the fuck? And so he climbed up a tree. And as most stories tell it, they tell it as though this boy was rescued from the wilderness. But it seems like he actually had to be hunted down because he climbed up this tree and he wouldn't come down. So they cut the tree down and they captured him.
Rude. Just leave him.
Just let him be. Clearly he's doing fine.
Yeah, he sounds like he's basically an animal.
He's called the Wild Boy.
Okay,
so
well, there you go.
He's wilding out. And so they capture him and they're like, well, what do we do now? No one knew what to do with him. So they just dropped him off at the local house of correction.
Good.
Also, he did not like wearing clothes. It was pretty clear that he had been in the wild for quite some time. Nobody really, there were so many questions with no answers around the Wild Boy. The news of the boy spread quickly throughout Germany and eventually Europe, but no one came forward to claim him. Nothing was known of him. Who is he? We don't know. Who are his parents? How long had he been in the forest? The public speculated about how he could have survived, imagining that perhaps he was raised by wolves or he suckled on a pig or a bear, even though none of these animals lived in Germany's forests at that time. But they're like, we don't know. How could a squirrel?
It's
perhaps?
like a juice pouch. Just suck on the milk and toss it.
That could have been it. I mean, he was very good at climbing trees. So maybe he was raised by a tree.
Oh, yeah. Ever thought of that?
Him and Squilliam were just two brothers.
Two
brother from another mother
in the tree. Also, update on Squilliam, our squirrel. He went to a rescuer, and now he has a little squirrel sibling. She has another squirrel his age, so now he has a friend. We're very happy for him.
That's for the best.
Yes,
for everyone involved, every sentient being involved. So, I mean, this poor guy does not have a friend in this correction facility. He's just been thrown in jail after living life out in the wild.
I'm sorry, maybe you said this already, but when is this?
1725.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But the boy's popularity quickly increased as stories of him spread about. He was so mysterious. It also brought up a lot of questions about nature versus nurture. You know, we're in the Enlightenment. Carl Linnaeus, a Swedish botanist, created an entirely new category of human for the wild boy called Juvenis Hanoverianus.
Hand over anus?
Hanoverianus. That's what he had to do when he was in the correctional facility. He was used to pooping in dirt, so he'll hold his hand over anus.
To keep it in.
Hand over anus. Yeah, I don't know. That's not true. I just made that up. I have no idea what that means, but that's what it is. Okay. Juvenis Hanover anus. But during Christmas time in 1725, King George I of Great Britain and Ireland at the time had heard of this wild boy, and he wanted to see him with his own eyes. So King George had this wild boy brought to his court in Herrenhausen, and here the feral boy was entertainment for the king and for his court. He was treated well in general during that time, but for the most part, when he would do something really improper, like he would look through people's pockets for nuts or for food and get really excited when he found some, and then eat them. But if he did that, then he would be punished.
Oh,
he would be whipped.
What? Why?
Yeah. Because he had crossed the line, because there are proper things to do and improper things to do.
They're literally bringing in a wild boy for entertainment. They know he's going to act like a wild boy.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to. That's entertaining. It wouldn't be entertaining if he acted like a proper boy.
Some people have issues and think that physically abusing children and people will fix their behavioral problems.
Oh my God. That's did you ever have to read The Whipping Boy in 5th grade?
No.
It was a traumatizing book.
That sounds traumatizing.
Yeah.
That needs to be on the banned book list.
Yeah, it does.
Jeez. Well, so yeah, they whipped him sometimes. In 1726, the year after he was found, King George brought the wild boy to St. James Palace in London, where he was then put on exhibit and brought in all levels of society to observe him. And King George decided that the boy would be kept as a pet of the palace.
Okay.
And the wild boy was christened and baptized as Peter that year, just because, they weren't sure if he had a soul or not, but they're just in case.
That makes sense. And I'm sure that this gets worse. It's already bad. But I mean, as far as the 1700s go, this seems like the best outcome.
Definitely.
He could be being kept in someone's barn for God knows what.
A random person. I mean, he's in a palace.
Yeah.
He
has food.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's the bar right now.
Yeah.
It's low.
The king gave Peter to his daughter, Princess Caroline, who would eventually become queen. And Princess Caroline wanted to make sure that Peter got an education. Everyone really loved Peter.
Was she an adult?
She was a child at the time.
Okay, and he was basically her pet.
Yes.
Okay.
Essentially. A human pet. But also they questioned whether he was truly human or not. They were still fumbling with the idea of, well, if he barely can understand our language and can't create verbalized language himself. Is he human? Does he have a soul? What is he? So they kept him as a pet. And Princess Caroline wanted to make sure that he got as much of an education as he could. Very sweet. And Dr. Arbuthnot was in charge of Peter's medical care, and he would also try and teach him things. So there's actually a picture that still hangs in Kensington Palace of Peter, and next to him is his doctor.
Oh, wow.
You can see the look on the doctor's face is just like, oh,
he's looking
man.
at that hammer like he wants to use it.
That's a cane.
Oh. Well, that too.
Yeah, I mean, Peter was a feral boy. He did wild things.
Peter looks like Peter Pan. He has very angular features, and he's wearing green, and he has like a lot of curly brown hair.
Kind of like Donnie from Wild Thornberries.
Yeah.
Yes,
He looks just like him.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Or like a little Mick Jagger doll.
Yeah, he does. Oh my gosh. I never even thought of it. Okay, yes, he does.
Mick Jagger with an afro.
Yeah, he had very coarse hair. So this doctor is spending all of his time, all of his waking hours with Peter, trying to teach him how to be proper, trying to teach him how to talk. And a lot of people tried to teach Peter how to talk, but no one was really successful until much, much later in his life. But mostly he would just grunt. Occasionally he would repeat a few words. But after a few years of living in the castle, they realized he had pretty good receptive language skills. So he understood what people were saying to him, but couldn't verbally communicate back to them. But he was the palace pet. Servants would struggle with him to do things that everyone else would do, such as wearing his green suit and his red socks. It was like a wrestling match every day to get him into clothes. And honestly, it's no wonder they sewed Peter's clothes specifically extra tight to prevent him from crawling or scrambling around. It would force him to sit up straight and stand, not get on all fours and crawl around.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so they're just really, instead of embracing who he is and his mysterious past, they're trying to integrate him into this society that he's being thrown into.
Why have a wild boy if you want him to act like a normal boy? I don't get it. Like, why do they want him to act normal?
I don't know.
Was he potty trained?
I didn't read actually anything about that. I don't have any information on him being potty trained. I do know that they did their best to persuade him to walk on his feet, but it was...
If he ain't walking, he's probably not using a toilet.
Probably not. I imagine that he was rarely put in his little suits and things like that. He probably just led a pretty casual life. He would scuttle around on his hands and knees, but eventually he did learn to walk and would walk regularly. He did not prefer to sleep in a bed as much as they tried. He would rather have cuddled up in the corner and just lay on the ground. That's where he could be found sleeping. Did not like the bed.
Wow. It's kind of sad.
I know. I mean, it's like they try to treat him well, but also they're forcing these things on him that are not coming naturally to him.
Yeah, it's well by their standards.
Yeah.
It sounds like they want the best for him.
Yes, and writers have there are a lot of satire writers who used Peter as an example to make a statement about how ridiculous, quote unquote, like proper society is and all these rules.
Yeah.
One story says that Peter was absolutely terrified the first time he saw a man taking off his socks. He thought the man was removing his own skin, and it sent Peter into an absolute meltdown. He was like, get me out of here. Like just the comprehension was not there that like what socks were.
That would be terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying. And for the man to be doing it, because it's not painful to take off socks, so he's just looking normal.
Yeah.
But if you think someone's peeling off their own skin and they're just acting normal about it, I'd be like, bye. Bye. But nonetheless, everyone grew to love Peter. Despite his rambunctious behavior, he was mostly cheerful and he absolutely loved music. Writers from that time have said that he's, quote, the most wonderful wonder and, quote, one of the greatest curiosities of the world since the time of Adam. And like I said before, they would point to Peter or use him as a way to mock the properness of the court and the shallowness of the rules in society. And it was tough for Peter to distinguish between what he was allowed to do and what he wasn't supposed to do. So this invisible line of, oh, you're not supposed to kiss people's wives. You're not supposed to look through people's pockets. That's where he would get in trouble. And these questions that people had about Peter never stopped. He was the topic of many discussions and this fascination around the idea of a human being feral in Europe. There are not many, but there are select cases across history. But it's such a wonder to see, especially a child who has been, was he abandoned? Did he run away from home? Like, we don't know, but we know that he'd been living in the forest for a long time. And the public was always shocked when they saw Peter. They couldn't believe how he would devour his food with only his hands. He would pickpocket. Like I said, he would kiss the wives of the men on the court. It really led them to consider if he has a soul, if human beings have souls. And he lived in the palace for a long time. And like I said, Caroline became a queen eventually. He remained living on court until her death in 1737. So the people in the palace had grown bored of him, probably a little bit tired of his antics.
And now he's old.
Now
he's no longer
older.
cute.
Yeah, he's like in his 20s by the time Caroline dies. And so it wasn't, that much longer. It was like 12 years after he had been initially found. But they're like, okay, Caroline's done. She's gone. She died.
Caroline was probably about his age, right?
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I don't know. I didn't look it up. That's a good question. I just took it at face value.
Yeah.
But she died. And so they're like, all right, we're going to send her pet to live on a farm. The farm resembled the wooded area where Peter was found back in Germany. The farmer was called Mr. Finn, and he cared for Peter in exchange for a yearly pension. And Peter just helped him on the farm. But one time Peter wandered away from home and was missing for days. Thankfully, he had experience fending for himself in the wilderness.
He's an adult now. I'd be like, okay, well, he chose to go back in the woods.
Yeah,
but he's nonverbal.
Yeah, that's true.
He's not functioning at developmentally at the age he is.
Okay, I see.
So they did find him, and after that, they put on a metal / interior leather collar around his neck.
No.
And it sounds really fucked up, but it did help people return him to his caregivers since he was known to wander away.
Oh, it was a label? It wasn't a leash?
It was a label.
Okay.
No, it was
I
not a
imagined
leash.
him being tied up. Okay.
I thought he was tied up
he
too.
was not tied up. His collar read, Peter, the wild man of Hanover. Whoever will bring him to Mr. Finn at Berkhamsted shall be paid for their trouble. So they were really just trying to keep him safe and make sure he, didn't die in the wilderness.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds kind of messed up. There are probably better ways.
Yes, definitely better ways. Again, it's the 1700s. They easily could have chained him to something. So I'm glad they didn't do that.
Yep, they didn't do that.
And it sounds like he's just going with people when they say, okay, come with me. We're going to go back home. He's not.
Yeah, he'll just wander away or walk off the farm, just vibing. There's a picture of his collar. You can see it's still on display.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, look at that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's pretty thick. It's probably 3 inches wide.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of like Harry Potter font.
Yeah.
How would you know? You've never seen it.
I've read some of the books.
No, you've read maybe one.
3, excuse me.
3? Okay.
A year
Alec
and a half ago.
refuses to watch Harry Potter until he's read all the books, which fair enough, but then read the books.
He just doesn't want to.
He doesn't.
Want to.
I made a reference to Peter Pettigrew last night, the most basic thing, and he didn't know who that was.
Well, I'm on this. Is Peter the one with the black hair? Kind of like
No,
a woke. Okay, well, I'm on the same page. Yeah. It's like I want to, but not bad enough.
I just can't believe that you being my age, I can kind of see it with Alec because he's a little bit older, but like the Harry Potter books were coming out like prime time for us to read them. And actually same with you, Alec, because I think the first one came out the year I was born, right? 97.
Yeah, I read them as they came out.
Yeah, so did
it's
I.
Funny you say that.
Yeah, well, it's just like
We don't need to get into the Harry Potter thing right now.
We need to get into Harry Peter.
It's just hard for me. And like, I'm not like a huge Harry Potter stan. Like J.K. Rowling can go fuck herself.
Hell.
But it's just wild to me that you guys don't know.
I remember reading the first book as like a sophomore in college or maybe a junior and being like, oh my God, like I barreled through it. But then I just didn't, I didn't have the second book. Yeah. And then it just kind of fell to the wayside.
That makes sense. They are very good books.
They are very good books. So we'll have to catch up on those and we'll start to understand your humor.
Just like I forced you to watch Game of Thrones, I'm going to force you to read these books.
I got HBO Max myself and I'm going to finish Game of Thrones.
Please do. And
I might even restart it.
Do it. Oh my God.
will.
Can I watch with you sometimes? Not every time.
I don't know.
Just
will
when
you? Yeah, I'll put it on in the living room.
Okay.
Anyway, back to my learning journey. Where was I here? So yeah, he had a collar, and later in life, Peter worked with a man who helped him more with his speech. And Peter never initiated speech on his own. Like if people talked to him, maybe he would say or grunt something to them, but he was just fine not saying anything at all. But he did learn a few words and his own name. And if somebody asked who his dad was, he would answer King George.
Oh,
I know. And he called the dog Bow Wow.
Oh.
So freaking cute. After he was on the farm with Mr. Finn, his final spot in his life would be spent, his final 15 years of life were spent with a man named Farmer Bill. Peter and Farmer Bill were always together. Peter loved helping him on the farm. He was known to drink rum and would start singing or humming melodies when he was drunk. And he would also eat raw onions as if they were apples.
Ew, Peter, that's gross.
You like what you like.
Yeah, it is like holes.
Have you read that, Kat?
Yes, because I'm a citizen of the United States and everyone has read that.
I have not read it.
What?
I saw the movie though.
Okay.
Once upon a time, there was a place where it never rained. Did that happen in the book? That story?
I don't remember.
If not, I don't want to read it.
I remember like the mean woman had red nail polish.
Yeah. And the rattlesnake venom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they all had nicknames. Made me want to have my own nickname.
Yeah.
Well, Sugar
I thought
Bear.
Zero was
Sugar
the
Bear.
coolest nickname I'd ever heard of.
What was it?
Zero.
Yes. Yeah. I agree. Well, maybe they should have freaking called Peter Zero because he never talked. Just kidding. He said Bow Wow. So Peter and Farmer Bill were very close. When Farmer Bill died, Peter refused all of the food that was offered to him and died a few days later.
Oh my God, that's so sad.
It's very
And he was
sad.
probably not that old, right?
He was 73
Oh,
by that
wow.
point. Here's one of the final depictions of him. His
he
hair
looks good for 73. His hair's still
long.
brown.
Well, it's a black and white.
It looks dark.
In your mind, you imagine it's brown.
I imagine it's brown. He looks like a fisherman.
Yeah. So he lived a good life. I mean, relatively good. Probably better than surviving in the wild.
Yeah, it sounds like he
for
lived
God
a
knows
better
how long.
life than most people back then.
Definitely. He was buried in a parish churchyard. His headstone reads, quote, Peter the Wild Boy, 1785. And to this day, flowers mysteriously show up, even though it's been over 200 years since he died.
Well, because people probably are leaving flowers on his grave.
Well, obviously
I don't know if I'd call that
leaving.
mysterious.
Well, who knows him? It's 200
Everyone.
years.
You're talking about him on a podcast. He's probably talked about it on all kinds of podcasts.
Fair enough, but still, no one knows who's leaving them. Like the people who care for the graves and everything, they're like, yeah, we don't know any of these people.
We know who's not
We
leaving
just
them.
shit on my parade, Kat.
I just
I'm
feel
done.
like people leave shit on famous people's graves. It's not a mystery.
Unmysteriously, flowers.
I'd leave
are
a raw
left.
onion.
Leave her on. Yeah, let his brother Squilliam come and feast on it. Okay, my final point here. In the early 2000s, Peter was diagnosed with Pitt-Hopkins syndrome by historians and geneticists, thanks to the picture of him in Kensington Palace and descriptions of his behavior. So Pitt-Hopkins syndrome wasn't discovered until wasn't identified as such until the 1970s or 80s. But the defining features that Peter had included his curvy Cupid bow lips, his short stature, very coarse hair, hooded eyelids, and we think that he had some fused fingers. They're hidden in that picture of him at Kensington Palace by he's holding some like food or something. Or they just didn't include it. But some sources say he had fused fingers. And
Does that mean like the skin is fused together?
Yeah.
On all
kind
his
of like
fingers or just...
on two of them?
Okay.
So it could have been his pointer finger and his middle finger you see in the
it
picture.
looks like they're right
together.
next to each other.
And a slower mental development because he did learn to say some words. Eventually, he would learn to walk. And that explains some things because he seemed feral, which he was. He was living in the woods, but also people speculate that his parents may have abandoned him due to his syndrome. So that just gave us a better insight as to why he did what he did. And it tells us that maybe he wasn't just feral.
Right.
But that is our little learning journey on Peter, the wild boy, who is loved, a wonderful, wondrous person, and people unmysteriously live flowers on his grave to this day.
Fun. Thank you, Haley. That was awesome. And
You're welcome.
it took place in Germany.
He was found in Germany.
Yes. So it ties into Oktoberfest.
And lived the rest of his life in England.
Yes.
My sources are visit norwick.co.uk, publicdomainreview.org, an article by Lucy Worsley, ripley's.com, The Guardian, an article by Maeve Kennedy, BBC News, an article by Megan Lane, and Historical Mysteries, an article by Lachlan McClelland.
Thank you. That was really fun. And we will be right back.
Hey guys, I know we have been talking your ears off about our little ghost story session on October 1st at 8 p.m. Central. We're holding on Patreon, but we want you to know that there's different levels to our Patreon.
Everyone on Patreon will have access to our cocktail hours, which we are now, I think, planning on doing at least once a month. At least, which those are really fun. But we have different levels. Like Haley said, there's different perks. If you donate at the $10 level, you can pick a topic for us.
And we absolutely love that. I mean, yes, we love getting DMs about do this, do that, but when you recommend it to us via your Patreon pick, we have to do it. And we're always willing to. We want to hear what you guys want to know about. But I just think that's a great way because it gets us out of our regular zones of research.
Yeah, and it's really fun. And then at the $5 tier, you get a shout out, you get a sticker. It's all really fun times. So definitely, if you're interested in that, head over to Patreon. The proceeds go directly to support the show, and we really, really appreciate it and love our growing family over there.
So much. So we'll see you all on October 1st at 8 p.m. Central, or maybe we'll give you a shout out on the show at the $5 level. Maybe you'll join the $10 level and get to pick one of our topics. Either way, we'll see you over there.
Yep, and that is patreon.com/nightclassy. You can also find the link in our link tree on all of our social media bios and the show notes.
Okay, let's get back into it.
All right. So for my Oktoberfest topic, I decided to be a basic bitch and just do a lesson on one of the most important components of Oktoberfest, if not the most important component.
Beer.
Beer. We are talking about beer. Beer is one of the oldest drinks in the world.
The accidental first alcohol.
Yeah, pretty much. We don't know exactly if it was intentional or not because people since people existed, because like even animals do it, will purposely eat like fermented fruit to get themselves drunk. So we're not sure if this was done intentionally, using the grain and like leaving it out, or if it was an accident. We don't know. It's hard to know because it's really fucking old. And if you don't know what beer is, I don't know how that's possible, but it is an alcoholic drink made from fermented cereal grain. So pretty much as soon as people were domesticating cereal grain, beer existed. It developed alongside of that. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when this was. It's possible that it was developed independently around the world. So it's not like it started in one place and then spread. People probably just developed it as soon as they started growing this grain. Because cereal grain contains these sugars that can spontaneously ferment because of yeast in the air. So basically, if you are leaving out wet grain, yeast in the air is going to find it and then it's able to ferment. So like you said, it could have been an accident. It could have been on purpose. We don't know. Most people I think it's probably an accident.
If it is an accident, I mean, just like the person who drank milk for the first time.
That was intentional. I don't know how you would accidentally.
Yeah, but
that was a choice.
Why make that choice?
Yeah, the milk thing, that is really a choice.
That's a super, super duper choice.
Yeah.
That has rippled through history.
Yeah, and it's still a choice if you're drinking milk from a cup.
For most
that
people.
is gross. Sorry, I think so. But I have no room to stand because I eat cheese and shit. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Probably even worse because it's just moldy milk.
I love some cheese though.
I love cheese too. It's so good.
It's so bad it's good.
I know. When you think about it too long, it's
just
disgusting.
Don't think about it.
I don't.
It's easy.
It is easy. It tastes so good.
Easy.
It's easy.
We had pimento cheese fries yesterday.
Yum. From where?
Oh my! From Farm Burger.
Ooh, I need to go. I've never been to Farm Burger.
We just went over to Crosstown, the establishment that it's in. It's like apartment buildings and a bunch of other stores. And because Pho Bin, a local restaurant, was going to take an hour. So we're like, yeah, we'll wait the hour. And we're like, let's go get appetizers. So we went over there, filled up on pimento cheese fries, got double filled up on Pho Bin, but it was
I'm jealous of the day you had yesterday.
It was a very nice
so
day.
Good.
I know.
We made tacos last night and those were fine, but we wanted to cheese dip, queso. And we went to this grocery store called Fresh Market, and the only queso they had was ghost pepper queso. And we both like spicy food, so we're like, how bad could this be? And it gets sold in a jar. Usually stuff from a jar isn't that spicy.
Yeah.
And it was inedible. You put it in your mouth and immediately your whole throat felt like it was itchy and burning and everything was bad.
And you bitches offered me some.
Well, Clint happily ate some. Some people want to try it. We offered it to you because we thought you might. We warned you. We didn't tell you eat
That's
this
true.
cheese dip.
Eat
It's not
this,
spicy.
It's very mild.
Yeah. No, it was crazy how spicy it was. I couldn't believe it. So that was a bummer. That was the best. And I forgot to buy cilantro for our
I heard you guys talking about
guacamole that I made.
Something different about it.
Not as good. What was good was that the Chinese began brewing a type of beer called Kui. I think that's how you say it. Kui around 700 BCE, so a long time ago. It was made from sprouted rice. Sometimes fruit was also added. So it was a rice-based beer, not really the type of beer that we're used to. That type came most likely from the Sumerians of Mesopotamia. Brewing there began possibly as many as 10,000 years ago, though 4,000 BCE is typically given for the official start date of beer. Long time ago. Most scholars believe that beer was created after bread as sort of a byproduct because early beer was made from baking bread and then putting that in water and letting it ferment.
Ew.
Like how we made our prison wine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ew.
Just like that.
I
so
hate it.
It was pretty...
And it wasn't carbonated. Is there a way to naturally
Yeah, the
carbonate?
fermentation process is what makes it carbonated. They're not adding carbonation to beer after the fact.
I have no idea how any of this works.
Yeah, I believe it was carbonated, but like they were using the bread in the beer. Some scholars think that beer actually came first before the bread, and that beer was like a staple part of people's diet.
Which came first, the beer or the bread?
Probably the bread, but we can speculate wildly.
Yeah, they're like, this beer is so good. I want something solid I can eat that tastes just like it, but doesn't get me fucked up.
Right. And beer in ancient Mesopotamia was not like the beer we have now. It was thick, like porridge.
Oh my God, I would throw up.
Because like I just said, it was made by putting beer and shit into it. And then
whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
Get that buzz,
I guess. So like it had all these chunks of bread, and this was before the use of hops. So it's for like preservation reasons and to give it flavor, they'd use a lot of herbs. So it was just like thick with chunks of bread and herbs. So it was drunk through straws. And this kind of helped filter out the chunks. And this is why straws were invented, was to drink this beer. Yeah. And they were hollowed out reeds.
Would they put like a fabric or something at the end or at the top
No, I think it just filtered out like the biggest chunks. Like the big chunks wouldn't go through.
Not to our best, highest standards. Right. Just the bare minimum.
And they had cloth, so I don't understand why they didn't just filter all of it.
That's what I'm saying. Just filter it through the cloth and then drink it. They just couldn't wait.
They couldn't wait. And the way this worked, I read this in like a poem or something, but they just have like these tubs of beer, like troughs, and the reeds would just be like floating in it. And if you like wanted to drink some beer, you'd like take a reed that was just floating in there and like drink it out of like a communal trough. And like obviously that's not like every time, but like that was a thing, which I find disgusting.
Yeah, these times we live in are scary and frightening, but it really could be worse.
It could definitely be worse. The first ever written down recipe for beer was in a Sumerian poem called the Hymn to Ninkasi. She was the goddess of beer, and this was recorded in 1800 BCE.
Wow.
I read the hymn.
She's just that girl in that like neon beer sign. I don't know what brand it is, but she has on like the
St. Pauli girl.
St. Pauli girl. Yeah, that's her.
Pretty much, yeah. Just an ancient Sumerian goddess, like in a dirndl.
Yeah, I remember seeing her in the grocery store when I was younger and being like, I want to be her when I grow up.
She's hot.
She's hot.
She is hot.
She looks like the original mom who's hot. And that's like her Halloween costume. You know what I mean?
No,
like she's the first one ever, like Stacy's mom. And she's like the OG Stacy's mom.
Moms are just wearing dirndls.
Yeah, if it's Halloween.
Hot. I've never seen that. I guess maybe.
Well,
maybe.
See,
she doesn't look like a mom. She looks like she's 22.
No, in that one, she does not look 22. That one maybe, but the one where her hair is up.
I don't know. She looks younger than me, so I'm going to call her young.
Okay. In some, she looks young. She's just traveling through time from, 4,300 BC?
It looks like they made her hotter over the years.
Obviously, you have to do that to keep the men interested.
Right.
Not even just men. Clearly, we're like, she's hot.
People are fickle creatures.
I want to be her.
She's hot.
She's hot. I read this hymn and, it's translated from like old Sumerian. So I couldn't tell exactly what it was trying to say, but I think I got most of it. So The recipe is you mix dough, and then in the dough, first you take water and then you make dough and you mix in sweet aromatics like dates and honey. So it was flavored, and you soak malt in a jar and then let the malt fermix, and then I think you mix it all up, and then you spread it on reed mats to dry, and then you have like this paste, and then you put it back in with the water and with honey and wine, and then it ferments in there, and then you filter it, I think. Modern breweries probably did a better job of translating this because they have recreated this beer. Apparently it's really sour and it tastes more like vinegar. And they're not exactly sure if that's what it tasted like at the time or if they just made it wrong, but apparently it tasted bad.
No kidding. I'm not shocked.
No, it sounds gross.
But also, if I had to time travel and got stuck in the past, I would know what to do.
Yeah, you'd know to suck it up through a straw.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Through cloth.
Straw. Yeah, I would bring
two-step filtration.
Take out my life straw.
No matter what, I'm going to be drinking.
Definitely. And beer at this time was like highly regarded. It was thought of as like the drink of the gods. Original brewers were women. They would make it at home. It was a household staple, much like bread. Like it was just something that you made at home.
Can't always drink the water now, can you?
No, not always. And it was made of something called bitbar, which is a twice-baked barley bread. So it was closely associated with baking. You were baking bread in the home, making beer. It started to become commercialized. Oh my God. Commercialized in the city of Ur around 2050 BCE. Then it really took off with commercialization in Babylonian times. There started to be these big breweries. We can see this happening a lot because of the regulations placed on beer in the Code of Hammurabi. Do you remember learning about the Code of Hammurabi in like 6th grade?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. It must have just been like my curriculum because I clearly remember this, and like we had to make like a board game about this thing. It was just a big deal. Mesopotamia and the Fertile Valley was it.
I mean, we learned about Mesopotamia, but I remember almost nothing from my childhood. So
yeah,
it's all just the St. Paul girl.
She made quite the impression on young Haley.
What else do I remember? Not Mesopotamia.
The only thing I don't remember anything we learned about in middle school except Mesopotamia. And I remember they'd make us write essays in blue, green, and red pen. And we'd have to write like the commentary in green, the like hard facts or whatever in red. It was just like super annoying. And I was like, I know how to fucking write. I don't have to like change pens every sentence. I remember being pissed.
So stupid.
So annoying. I mean, as a teacher now I get it, but like as a child I was like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
Doing the most. It's
like, this guy next to me can't write. He probably needs to use these colored pens, but I can. There were 3 main laws about beer. The first reads, quote, if a tavern keeper, in parentheses feminine, does not accept grain according to gross weight in payment of drink, but thou's money and the price of the drink is less than that of the grain, she shall be convicted and thrown in the water.
Oh, okay.
Basically, it is a bit much. This meant that like beer at the time was meant to barter with. It was almost like a currency. It wasn't really meant to be sold. And people also got a daily ration of beer like for free, I think. So
so they were socialists.
Back in Mesopotamia, yes. And I don't think you were supposed to like make a big profit from it. So like if you were demanding a bunch of money, like more than the beer was worth, that was like a crime. Like I think there was like a max amount you could accept for the beer.
Oh, so they hated capitalism.
Yeah, they were a very advanced society. Number 2, quote, if conspirators meet in the house of a tavern keeper and these conspirators are not captured and delivered to the court, the tavern keeper shall be put to death. This is pretty an obvious one, I think. If people are conspiring to commit treason, you have to turn them in. Like you can't use your tavern as like a place where people can just like go fucking do that.
That should be a general law.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Why are they singling out the tavern?
That's what I'm wondering. Maybe it was happening a lot.
Yeah, they had to shut that shit down.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. Finally, I have number 3. If a sister of God open a tavern or enter a tavern to drink, then shall this woman be burned to death.
Yeah, that's not even a human law. That's just she'll combust into flames.
It's God's law. But like beer was a drink of the gods. So this applied to high priestesses. They could drink beer. They just weren't supposed to drink beer in a tavern like a common bitch.
Oh, okay.
Like they had to drink their beer like a lady in the church or in their home, I think, but not in a tavern.
Everything's better in the church.
It's okay in the church.
Apparently, because...
You can get away with most anything in a church.
Yep.
If you're a high priestess.
Drink beer in the church... or don't drink beer in the church, they'll just transfer you to another church.
Oh, God. Yes. In ancient Egypt, the most popular beer was Hecht. It was a honey-flavored beer. Beer was used for payment for labor in Egypt, and it fueled the building of the Great Pyramids. The workers were given a daily ration of beer. It gave them calories and energy. The pyramids probably wouldn't have been built without beer. According to Egyptian legend, beer brewing was taught to humans by the god Osiris. So it was a gift given to humans by a god. It was a very big deal, and it played an important role in the birth of the goddess Hathor. I have this story here. I thought it was very interesting. The god Ra sent Hathor to Earth to destroy humanity because the people were being bad.
They were drinking beer outside of church.
No, they were just being sinning. People were allowed to drink beer out of church, just not priestesses.
I know.
Sorry. But like, I think Hathor was Ra's daughter. I'm not sure. But basically, she liked killing everyone too much. She developed extreme bloodlust, and this transformed her into a new goddess, Sekhmet. She loved killing. She just like really relished it. She was killing everything, killing everyone. Seeing what she had become, Ra starts having regrets. And he's like, I need to stop this bitch. Like, this is getting out of hand. So the way he stops her is he dyes a bunch of beer red and pours it on the city. So it looks like blood. And Sekhmet, thinking that it's blood, gets on her hands and knees and starts slurping it up. She loves blood.
Ew!
This gets her drunk, and she falls asleep. And when she awakens, she's back to being Hathor, and she becomes a good deity of music, laughter, the sky, and gratitude. So beer turned her good.
Wow, well, sounds like we have all the answers.
Yeah, beer makes people good, is the moral of this story.
It either makes you good or you're a mean drunk and things get very bad.
Right. It's either very good or very bad.
There's no in between. There's not a neutral drunk.
Not usually.
Not usually.
Not usually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Proceed with caution. From Egypt, beer spread to Greece. The Greeks flavored their beer in the brewing process with olive oil, and they drank it with grated cheese sprinkled on top.
Just dip that bread right in there.
Yeah, it was basically like
that'd be great instead of
oatmeal.
vinaigrette.
Yeah,
it
was
the
grits.
oil. Yeah, just pour some beer in there, sprinkle some Parma on top. That sounds amazing.
I guess so. Yeah, it basically was cheese grits, alcoholic cheese grits.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds not so bad, I guess, when you think of it that way. I was pretty taken aback, but I guess if it's like a porridge, makes sense to put cheese on it.
Yeah.
Beer never really took off in popularity in Greece and Rome the way it did in other parts of the world. It was probably drunk by common people, but the wealthy considered it low class and the drink of barbarians. They liked wine.
I feel like that kind of stereotype around beer lasts to this day.
It does, yeah. And I like beer, but I think
beer
I prefer
too.
wine. But I like both.
I'm definitely going to make jokes about Bud Light and Busch.
Definitely that Natty Light.
Oof.
I have a Roman quote talking about the Germans, and it says, quote, "To drink, the Teutons have a horrible brew fermented from barley or wheat, a brew which has only far removed similarity to wine." So they definitely looked down on the Germans especially for drinking beer. Emperor Julian wrote a poem that compared wine to nectar and the smell of beer to goat. So I think that sums up pretty well how they felt about it.
They hated it.
They hated it.
If you had any questions.
Yeah.
Clarify for you.
Thank you. So the Greeks and Romans dismissed beer, but Northern Europeans fucking loved it. The Germans were busy perfecting it. England also was working on brewing beer, and it's like a debate who was brewing it first, the Germans or the English. We're going to stick with the Germans here because
I hope it's the Germans.
Yeah, and they make it, I mean, English beer is pretty good, but I think Germans have really nailed it as far as people of the world go. So it's also the Oktoberfest episode, so we're going to focus here on Germany a little bit. Germans brewing beer started as early as 800 BCE. They called it Ale, and it was also first brewed by women in the home, just like it was in Mesopotamia.
As beer should be.
As beer should be. By the way, I got Haley a winemaking kit for her birthday, so we're going to make wine.
Yes, we should do that. I don't know how long it'll take to put it all together, but I should do that like this week.
Yeah, we should do it. It'll be fun. Eventually, by the year 1000, Christian monks became the primary brewers and started brewing like at mass for commercial consumption. Monastic beers didn't typically use hops. Instead, they contained a lot of herbs and spices. So they probably had a lot of flavor. We don't typically do that in beers these days. They're flavored with hops. Beer was considered safe, nutritious, and a good drink for children. In 1516 CE, the German purity law was instituted, or as it's known in Germany, the Reinheitsgebot.
I like it.
Which, look, it says it right here on the St. Pauli girl.
Yep.
Brewed in accordance with the German purity law of 1516.
It's a very famous law. Basically, when barley is mixed with a very specific kind of Bavarian hops, it makes an exceptionally good beer. They were able to kind of get rid of the sour taste that a lot of beer had that made it undesirable and create this smooth, good beer. So this law mandated that only certain ingredients could go into beer so that they weren't fucking it up. These ingredients were water, barley, and hops. That's it. That's all you could put into beer. Later, yeast was added later down the line. And this law originally only applied to Bavaria, but places all over Germany started adopting this law.
So it wasn't like a suggestive law. It was law.
Yeah, this was like, and if you wanted to sell a beer, this is how it was going to be made.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. And this law still applies today. There's obviously a lot of exceptions for different kinds of beers, but like in order to be served at Oktoberfest, like it has to be this kind of beer in order to be like considered a Bavarian beer brewed in this like not the city, the like area. Maybe it's just Munich, but like there's still parts of Germany that like really adhere to this, and it's important that German beer is like kept authentic to this German purity law. The law also placed a maximum price on beer, and this regulation increased the popularity of beer even more and let Germany become like known worldwide for its amazing beer. You could go anywhere in Germany and the beer would be good.
So good. Mm-hmm. So good.
We talked about this a little bit on last year's Oktoberfest episode, so if you want to hear more about Oktoberfest and German beer in particular, go listen to that.
I love how on brand you are for both of our Oktoberfest episodes, and I just very loosely
I just didn't want to think.
Interpret.
And I noticed you did the girl in the box and the wild boy.
Oh,
yes.
The girl and the boy.
Oh.
Wow. Some gender binary.
Yep.
Bad
Well,
girl. Just kidding.
Next year.
Next year can be non-binary German story.
Yeah.
All right. Well, people these days have gotten really creative with their brewing. There's this trend now called beer archaeology where people try to recreate ancient beers.
That's so cool.
It's so fucking cool. They can like test pottery to like see the chemical stamp of like whatever was made into the beer at the time. And they look through all these ruins. A, have to like figure out were they brewing beer, and then B, like use detective skills to figure out what they were putting in the beer. It's really cool. There's this brewer named Travis Rupp, and he is one of the leaders in this, making these ancient beers. One of the first ancient beers he tried to make was Chicha, which is a Peruvian corn-based beer. And we have parts of this recipe from pre-Incan archaeological evidence.
Jesus.
This recipe calls for chewed corn, partially fermented in spit. So,
Okay, hate that.
disgusting. Travis and his colleagues tried to make it. So they chewed corn and spit it into a vat until they had enough to ferment
Like
and make
raw
beer.
corn, like hard corn.
Hard, like Indian corn, I believe. And they made this mixture. Unfortunately for him, it didn't work. The mixture gelatinized into a dense blob. And the article I read said it was equivalent to 7 bathtubs of polenta.
What is polenta?
It's like that. You've never had polenta? It's like a corn paste, and you can like kind of fry it, and like you eat like these pucks of like corn dough. Essentially,
No, I haven't.
It's like yellow corn grits almost.
But yeah,
no, I don't
it's
think
basically
so.
like a corn paste.
But I mean, I bet corn has changed since before the Incans were
Definitely.
around.
And they tried to make it as authentic as possible, but like obviously it's not
hard
going to
to
be
do.
perfect.
Yeah.
And they clearly fucked up this recipe.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, Travis has made a career out of recreating ancient beers with the Avery Brewing Company. They teamed up and created a line of beers called Ales of Antiquity. So they've made all kinds of these, and it was fun reading about them. Travis says he was most surprised to find that none of them have been completely undrinkable, I guess besides the Chicha. They created a Viking-inspired beer from a recipe they got from debris of ancient shipwrecks.
Ooh.
It's made of juniper branches and baker's yeast and has a slight smell of banana.
Ew, I hate that.
You don't like banana in beer?
I hate banana.
But do you like Hefeweizen? That tastes like banana.
I did like it. I must not have
It's very
realized it
subtle.
was
Obviously,
banana.
it's not like banana flavored.
I do not dig banana.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I like a banana Laffy Taffy every now and then.
Barf. No thanks.
Another beer he's made is called Beer Sheba, and it's based off of artifacts from ancient Israel. It has 3 types of grain and pomegranate juice, which sounds pretty good to me, but apparently it smells like baby spit up and tastes like a funky fruit roll up.
Yeah, sounds like it would be like some stomach acid.
Yeah, probably very acidic.
Yeah.
There's a beer called Benedictus, which the recipe was a recreation of a monastic one. And so, like we said earlier, monastic recipes had a lot of herbs in it. So this had wormwood and lavender. The recipe dates back to 825, and it smells like spicy men's shampoo and tastes like an herb garden.
That sounds kind of good.
Yeah, that one actually does sound pretty good. So, like we know, Travis tried and failed to make Chicha, but another ancient beer researcher, Patrick McGovern, partnered with Dogfish Head Brewery to make it. They were successful. He and his colleagues chewed red Peruvian corn for 8 hours and were successfully able to use that to make chicha. They also flavored it with peppercorns and strawberries, and the brewery makes and sells it today.
Wait. Ew.
I don't think that they sell the one with the spit in it. At least I hope not. But
Yeah, how would they sell it?
I don't think they can legally.
Yeah.
So it's probably a version of it, but you can buy it
Nasty.
apparently.
Also, to chew for over 8 hours.
Yeah, they said
People
that
would
their
really-
jaws were sore and like their mouths were all torn up. Like that corn is hard.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
Yeah.
People would really go through it to get a drink.
Yeah, they really would. McGovern partnered with Dogfish Head Brewery to create a series of beer called Ancient Ales. One of these is Midas Touch, made from ingredients found in a 2,700-year-old drinking vessels in King Midas's tomb. It's brewed with honey, barley, white muscat grapes, and saffron. And here's where I become a bit of a list bitch because I wasn't sure where to go from here. So I have a list of some of the weirdest beers ever. You can get space beer. Sapporo Space Barley is made with barley that was on the International Space Station.
Wow.
It was a 2009 limited edition. They sold 256 packs for $100 each. And I think the proceeds went to some kind of science foundation. But it doesn't sound like they made that much money from it, but okay.
Yeah, they could have done way more with
Yeah, I don't know why they
it.
didn't make more of them. Maybe because not that much barley had gone into space. The Dogfish Head's Celeste Jewel Ale contains dust from lunar meteorites. And apparently the minerally dust aids in the fermentation process. So there is like a point for putting this in. Also, this is like the third time Dogfish Head Brewery has come up.
Yeah, they're really into the weird brewing stuff.
They are. And my only experience with Dogfish Head Brewery was when I bought a like variety pack of their beer and brought it on a trip with Alec's family. And there was a beer in there. It was like me, Alec, and like his siblings. And we were sitting in the hot tub and Alec took a sip of this beer and maybe it was a Sweetwater beer, not Dogfish Head.
I can't remember.
I think it was Sweetwater Brewing. So I don't want to like slander Dogfish Head, but it tasted so bad and it was disgusting that he threw it off the balcony, like trying to be funny. And then he had to go down into the woods and get it. In his bathing suit. It was really funny. He had to be there.
I was kind of drunk and I thought like this is a really funny bit, and then like no one laughed.
They're like, Alec, you're littering.
Yeah. We're like, why'd you just throw that beer? And then we're like, well, you're littering. You have to go get it.
I was gonna go get it no matter what, but I thought I'd at least get a laugh.
And no one laughed.
No, not at all.
I probably would have laughed.
Thank you, Haley.
I'm laughing now. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I think it was Sweetwater and I got it confused with Dogfish Head because it had a fish on it.
That'll do it to you.
It does. Anyway, there's Sankt Gallen's Un Kono Kuru, which is beer brewed from coffee, made from coffee beans that have been digested and pooped out by elephants.
Like so that other one.
Yeah, like civet coffee, but this time it's elephants. Apparently it's good. It has a strong bitter taste, followed by a wave of sweetness and a mellow body.
First they're sour, then they're sweet.
That's right.
That's what I'm all about.
There's Mamma Mia, which is a pizza beer flavored with a whole margarita pizza that's used in the mash.
Wow, I don't know how to feel about that.
That sounds interesting. And what I learned from doing this research, so with wine, mostly the only ingredient in wine is like grape juice. Like there's slight additives, but like when a wine has the flavor of something, it's not that that's in the wine, it's that like
it resembles it.
It has like those notes just from like the way the grapes were grown and what kind of grapes there were. But with beer, when beer is flavored, they're literally putting that shit in to the brewing process. Like if a beer tastes like strawberries, that's because there were strawberries like in the mash.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know.
I didn't know that either.
That was interesting to find out. And apparently they're putting whole pizzas into the mash.
Margarita pizza sounds so good right now.
I'm so hungry.
I'm so ready to eat.
Me too. I'm fucking starving. And we haven't eaten since breakfast and it's 6:30.
I woke up at 11. So technically I also haven't eaten since breakfast. But that was much later than your guys' breakfast.
We're going to make a HelloFresh Greek bowl tonight. And I'm very excited. There's Odious Ale by 40 Foot Brewery. And they use yeast swabbed from Roald Dahl's writing chair to make their brew. So
from what?
He got injured fighting in World War II and he had to have a special chair made so that he could comfortably write, and it's still like on display and they use the yeast swabbed from the chair.
Ew.
Yeah, I thought that was gross too, but apparently there's just like yeast in like the air and like in everything. Like it's not like it's like from his back sweat or anything. It's just like there, but still kind of gross.
I still don't like it. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, not the best. I also have like a similar one. There's beard beer from Rogue Ales, and that's made from the yeast grown on the master brewer's beard.
Oh,
God. Damn it.
Yeah, that's pretty gross. I don't know. There's just yeast on stuff. And also, fun fact, I worked for Rogue. For a summer, I worked at the Issaquah Brew House and I hosted there. And I was underage, so I didn't drink their beer.
Wink, wink.
Right. I don't think I liked beer at that point, though. I was like 19. I wasn't much of a beer drinker.
Yeah. There's a lot of exploration with alcohols before I found out what really worked for me.
Right. What I liked, what I didn't like. Yeah. So I worked there. It was fun. I don't think it's open anymore. I think they closed. So RIP Issaquah Brew House.
Probably because you're nasty.
Right, yeah. Their brewery is still open in Oregon. Their main brewery is open, which I've been to. I took a tour, and they actually have like a really good beer, but their restaurant in Washington State closed. There's Oyster Stout made by the Porterhouse Brewing Company, and they shuck raw oysters straight into the conditioning tank with the beer and ferment oysters in with the beer. This gives it a, quote, salty sweet taste.
I hate it.
Yeah.
No,
disgusting.
thank you. Please don't.
Apparently, it really does taste good. Like, it doesn't taste like oysters, but that's disgusting.
I'm willing to try new things. I embrace things that I have not done before. I am so willing to go outside of my motherfucking comfort zone. That is too far.
Do you eat shellfish?
I'll eat shrimp.
Will you eat an oyster?
I don't think I've ever had an oyster.
Or a clam or a mussel?
I'm not into, no.
Yeah.
No.
Especially
not with my beer. Like, I know I want my beer to taste like bread.
Right.
Not shrimp.
Not shrimp. I tried, so like I've been vegetarian my whole life, but like I was on a trip where my family was like clamming, and my mom was like, well, it's basically a vegetable. Like, it doesn't have a brain or a central nervous system. Like, it's not an animal. Like, you may as well try it. And I was like, you know what? You have a point. So I tried a mussel, and they like smelled so good. Like, they were being cooked in garlic and butter. And I was like, this is going to be really good. And I spit it out. It was so fucking gross.
Yeah. It's a no for
Yeah,
me.
I don't do
No,
it.
thanks.
No. More power to you if you like it. I do not. Pilsner by Noebro Brigus is made with human urine. They collected over 50,000 gallons of human pee from a music festival in Denmark.
No.
Now you're just pissing me off.
Luckily, like, it's not, they didn't directly use the pee in the beer. They used it to fertilize the barley that they used in the beer. But I'm like,
Same thing to me.
Yeah.
If there's urine involved, and I'm guessing these people knew their urine was going to be used to make a beer.
probably.
So they're like
And-
excited
Yeah.
to go pee to then months later be able to try the beer
Yeah,
that
and it's
them
like-
and however many other people contributed to with their urine.
And it's like nasty music festival piss. Like, it has.
You don't want that.
nasty
You're
shit in it.
dehydrated.
Uh-huh.
You're probably drinking.
Uh-huh.
Who knows what else you've
what
put
else,
in your body.
For sure. Yeah. Just gross. And also, I'm confused because I thought pee was bad for plants. I thought poop was used to fertilize.
Yeah. I don't know. See, it sounds right. I know poop is good. I don't know anything about pee, but I hate it nonetheless.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gross. Apparently this was done to be sustainable.
Sustain something else.
Right. Yeah, we don't need to sustain that. Last on my list is Sheep Dung Smoked Whale Testicle Beer by Steady Brewery. And I don't think I have to elaborate. That's exactly what it sounds like. And I think that one is Swedish, I think. I don't know.
I have no words. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm fully fed up. Go on.
We're almost done. I just have a few fun beer facts to end on. My first is that non-alcoholic beer is made either by skipping the fermentation process or by removing alcohol from the finished beer by boiling it.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Have you ever had non-alcoholic beer?
No.
I randomly got a can of it in my FabFitFun box. Like, sometimes they send you samples.
Honey, this is not fab. This is not fit. This is not fun.
I agree. I was very thrown off that they were like a sponsor
Bizarre.
of that. It was super bizarre. And it's the weirdest little can. It's like, it probably is only like 3 ounces. Like, it's tiny. It's like a doll can. And I kept it because I don't know. I did. It was like a cute little can. I didn't want to throw it away. So it's sitting on our bar cart. We can try it when we go home.
Oh, no.
The Guinness Book of World Records was created by the executive director of Guinness Brewing Company, Hugh Beaver.
Oh, same name. That makes sense.
Yes. And I never put that together, that it was created by like Guinness Brewing. But
yeah, well, I never knew. I mean, when you don't have the right tools, you can only go so far.
And now you know. He came up with this idea as a way for people drinking in pubs to settle their arguments, like arguing over like the fastest person or like the biggest thing.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it wasn't made for children. It was made for like to be in a bar. And speaking of the Guinness Book of World Records, Andre the Giant has the record for drinking the most beer in one sitting.
That checks out.
Mm-hmm. At least when this article was written. I don't know if he still does, but at the time he drank 119 bottles of beer in 6 hours.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I would be dead. I think my stomach would rupture.
Probably just wets his mouth.
Yeah, that's true. But like he's not that big. Like he's a pretty big guy, but it's not like he's that big. Like how is your stomach even that big? I guess it was in 6 hours.
You can train your stomach too. Yeah, you can pee. Well, if it's one sitting, could he get up?
I don't know. I think so. I mean, I don't think you could survive if you drank that much fluid and didn't pee in 6 hours.
Yeah, he's just sitting. He does the whole thing on the toilet, so he doesn't even have to get up.
He's just wearing a giant diaper.
They're going to use it to ferment the barley later on to make the beer again, so it's fine.
He's like, I gotta go break the seal, and it's just like as if a water balloon exploded.
Worldwide, beer is the most popular alcoholic drink and the third most popularly consumed drink in the world after water and tea. And lastly, I have the London beer flood of 1814. It happened in St. Giles, London, at the Horseshoe Brewery. They had a 22-foot high fermentation tank containing over 3,500 barrels of brown porter ale, and it was held together by iron rings. One of these iron rings broke and the tank ruptured. This led to hot fermenting ale that came out so fast it broke through the back wall of the brewery and poured out onto the street. More than 320,000 gallons of hot beer created a 15-foot tall beer tsunami.
On par with Sharknado.
Yeah, definitely. But this is a much sadder story. Beer Nami. This was located in like a densely populated slum. And so it crashed through, causing 2 houses to collapse and killing 8 people.
Oh my God.
There was a 9th victim reported days later who died from alcohol poisoning after consuming too much of the quote unquote free beer.
Oh no.
The brewery was taken to court, but they were let off the hook after the jury ruled that this was an act of God, which
I thought you were going to say was an accident. But you said act of God.
I mean, that's basically what they mean.
Yeah.
But like this also led to like cement tanks instead of like whatever they were using as like a safety measure.
Yeah.
And that was my lesson on beer.
Oh my gosh. Well, that beer nami was meant to be. Whether it's an act of God, who knows?
Right. It was RIP, though, to the people who died. My sources are openculture.com, npr.org, worldhistory.org, Beer in the Ancient World by Joshua J. Mark, Wikipedia, germanfoods.org, expatica.com, mensjournal.com, mentalfloss.com, foodandwine.com, beerconnoisseur.com, indiatimes.com, historic-uk.com, and dummies.com. When you're a list bitch, you got a lot of sources.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. It is true. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Happy Oktoberfest. Go drink an Oktoberfest beer. We love you. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, please tell a friend about us. Post us on your social media. We love getting tagged in your Instagram stories. And consider donating to our Patreon. Join us on October 1st.
See you there.
3, 2, 1. Class dis Haley.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She's just staring off into the sunset over there.
I am. I need to take my Adderall and I just need to get my life together. Let's try it again.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Class dismissed.